Masibulele from the Transaction Support Center. We are so pleased to be part of this year's Money Smart Week. Having a property registered in your name is the most valuable asset that you may ever have. So it's very important to look after it, not only for it to grow value, but to also accumulate wealth, not only for you, but also for your household and for the economy at large. And this is part of our mission as a Transaction Support Center. So today I will be speaking about 5 things that you need to know when purchasing a property. The first thing that's very important, tip number 1, is that if you're considering to purchase a property through an estate agent, that you have to make sure that that agent is registered, and it is registered with the Estate Agencies Affairs Board. This board is the one that regulates and monitors the activities of estate agents in the public interest. So it also investigates any complaints laid against any estate agent by anybody. Estate agents are issued on a yearly basis a fidelity fund certificate. So it's very important that when you are dealing with a registered estate agent, you request for this certificate. An unregistered agent, if you are going to use an unregistered agent, that will run implications for you, because if there's anything that might go wrong in that sale at any given point in time, then that means that you're not protected by the laws that are governed by the EEA board. Tip number 2 is that after you have approached an estate agent, it's always very important, if you have found a property that you have liked and you are considering to buy, is that you have an offer to purchase drawn up with the assistance by that estate agent or a lawyer, so that that document is legally binding. If there is anything that may be wrong with that document, then that sale may be considered as invalid. So it's very, very important that you seek legal advice when drawing up this offer to purchase. It's very important that when you have found a property, you ask for the copy of the title deed, so that you know that the person that you are buying this property from is actually on the title deed and is in fact the owner of the property. So when the OTP has been drawn up, there are a couple of things that you need to look at, that you need to identify, that has to be there in that OTP. The first thing is the name of the seller or the sellers, because at times you might be buying from a married couple. You have to make sure that the person that is on the OTP is in fact the same person that is on the title deed of the property that you are looking to buy. The second thing that you need to look at is the property details. The property details on the OTP has to be the same as the property details on the copy of the title deed that you have requested. That will ensure that you are buying the same property. The third thing that you need to look out for is the purchase price and the deposit. You have to make sure that if the seller requires you to pay a deposit, you know that you have to pay a deposit at such a date. And you have to make sure that the purchase price that you and the seller have agreed to is the one, in fact, that is recorded on the OTP. The fourth thing that you need to have a look at is the occupation date. The purchaser takes occupation once transfer goes through. But if you and your seller reach a different agreement, you have to make sure that that agreement has been recorded on that OTP. Another important factor that you need to look at is the conditions of the sale. If there are repairs that need to be done on the property, you have to make sure that if the seller says that they are obligated to fix the repairs before you take occupation, you make sure that that is recorded on the OTP. This will protect you in such a way that should you take occupation and you still find that those repairs have not been done or not have been done as agreed on the OTP, that you have something to hold on to the seller and to make the seller obligated to reach the agreement of the OTP. Tip number 3 is that you never pay cash directly to the seller, nor the estate agent that you have approached. Never pay cash. This will ensure that the seller meets the obligations that you have agreed on the OTP. Should you give the seller cash before transfer goes through, then that means implications for you as the purchaser. The seller might at any given stage change their mind or may decide to sell the property to somebody else, or the seller might die. And if the seller dies, then that means that you would have to deal with the valid heirs of the property. So if you have given the seller the money before the transfer goes through, then that means that if the family of the deceased seller goes back on their word or on the agreement that you have reached, then you at a loss because you may lose a lot of money. So if as well that the seller has creditors that they need to pay, and they might seize the property. So again, you might lose a lot of money. So never pay cash directly to the seller without them cooperating and honoring the agreement that you had on the OTP. Tip number 4, you have to ensure that there is a conveyancer present when you do the formal property transfer. This is because once you sign an OTP or a sale agreement with your seller, a conveyancer is the one that ensures that registration goes through. They do the actual registration in the deeds office. So it's very important for them to be involved when you're doing the transfer. The conveyancer conducts checks on the property. They do rates applications. The conveyancer is the one that lodges the transfer in the deeds office, and the deeds office conducts another round of checks, and the deeds office removes the seller from the title deed into the name of the buyer. So usually some other people, they do affidavits when they conduct sales, property, they buy property from other people. These documents are not legal documents in order for the transfer to take place. So if you're going to do affidavits in the police station with the seller, or you get letters from your local street committee letters, those documents are not legal in order for the transfer to go through. So it's very, very important that you get a conveyancer to draw up a set of transfer documents in order for you and your seller to sign and for the transfer to take place. Tip number 5, when you get your new original title deed, it is very, very, very important for you to keep it in a safe and secure place. The title deed is very, very important for a couple of reasons. Should you decide to sell your property off again to someone else, then you will be able to do it in a proper way. Or should the valid heirs decide to sell the property, or in the event of your death, your heirs decide to take over the property, which means that they are able to change the property over to their names, or they are able to change the property over to the people that they are selling to. So it's very, very important for the title deed to be kept in a safe place. If the original title deed is damaged or lost for any reason, an application for a new title deed has costs around it. Through the TSC, it's 1.5. And the time it takes to apply for the new title deed is around 1 month. If you have a mortgage loan or to finance your house, the bank will keep your title deed safe for you. Recapping from the presentation that I've given to you, there are 5 things that you need to know when buying a property. The first thing is only work with registered estate agents. Always ensure that there is a formal offer to purchase or a sale agreement. Never pay cash directly to a seller or any other party involved, i.e. the estate agent. For the transfer, always ensure that there is a conveyancer involved in order to formalize and regularize the same. The last thing is always keep your new original title deed in a safe and secure place. Thank you very much for listening in. Should you need any advice, feel free to contact us. Our contact details are on the screen.